I was standing in the office of the factory I'd helped save 3 times. Once when Frank had his heart attack and couldn't manage operations for months, once during COVID when the business lost half its contracts, and once last spring when the main production line broke down and I wired the repair company $85,000 before they even sent the invoice. That day I wasn't there to fix anything, just helping Frank organize some paperwork for the quarterly reports. It was something I did often. My stepfather Frank never quite grasped the digital filing system even after 12 years of running this place. He always said I was good with business operations, though I'd worked in project management at tech companies, not manufacturing, for over a decade. He'd left a stack of documents on his desk. I moved through them quickly, financial records, some insurance forms, a supplier contract or two. Then I saw it, a manila folder, thick, neatly labeled in Patricia's careful handwriting, Business Succession Plan Final. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that. But I had just covered the equipment loan payment the week before, $4,200, and I was planning to meet with our biggest client after this to negotiate the renewal contract like I always did. So yes, I opened it. Inside, the succession plan, notarized 2 months ago. The factory, debt-free thanks to my financial backing. The client contracts I'd secured, the efficiency improvements I'd implemented. All of it to my stepbrother Tyler Patterson, 26, no real job, still living at home. He'd dropped out of college twice, spent a few years doing game streaming, which mostly meant playing in his room and posting videos that never broke 500 views. Frank and Patricia always said he just needed time to mature. My name, Claire Mitchell, appeared once, one line, "We value Claire's advisory role and trust both children to support the family business." That was it. No mention of the loans I'd covered, no acknowledgement of the clients I'd brought in, not even recognition of the years I'd spent saving this place. Just a polite way of saying you were helpful, but this isn't really yours. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood there staring at the document while the machinery hummed in the background. My hands were steady. My breath wasn't. Frank came back in with his coffee and said, "You getting through that pile, Claire?" I held the folder up. "Is this how it is, Frank? Everything to Tyler?" He froze, coffee halfway to his lips. Then he sighed, one of those long, tired sighs that meant he already knew what I'd found. "It's not what you think." I didn't answer because it was exactly what I thought. I didn't push him, not right away. Frank just stood there holding his coffee like it might explain something. Then he muttered, "We figured you'd understand. You're successful, Claire. You've always been successful." That's what they always said when they didn't want to explain. You've always been successful. Translation, you don't get to expect more. I left the folder on the desk and stepped outside to breathe. The metal bench by the loading dock creaked a little when I sat down. I had installed that bench myself 2 summers ago. Same week the factory's main gate broke and I paid a contractor to fix it because Tyler said he was between streaming payouts again. Back then I didn't mind. I was raised to take care of things, to step up. I grew up in this building, spent afternoons here after school while Frank worked the floor. I still remember the day we painted the office walls white together, Frank, Tyler and I. Patricia brought us sandwiches and said, "Look at our little team." Some team. I stayed in Denver after college because Patricia said the business needed someone with my education nearby. I turned down a job in Seattle even after they offered me more money and a faster track to senior management. I told myself family business mattered more. They never asked me to sacrifice. They just never told me it wasn't required. There were the little things, covering the utility bills when cash flow was tight, buying office supplies when the budget ran short, handling tax filings when the accountant's fees were too high. And the big things, like transferring $35,000 from my savings to upgrade the machinery 4 years ago. I did it without question. I just wanted the business to thrive, to feel stable, not constantly struggling. And now, after all of that, I was a footnote. I sat on that metal bench staring at the employee parking lot. Tyler had crashed his car into the fence post once, leaving a dent that still showed. I wonder if he ever helped pay for that fence repair. I wonder if he even knew it cost $1,200 last year when we had to replace the whole section. Did they ever think about what I gave up? Not just the money, but the opportunities, the independence, the career I could have built somewhere else? Or did they just see me as the one who didn't need asking because I always showed up first? I didn't go back inside. The bench creaked once beneath me, then settled. I could still hear the hum of the machinery through the office windows. A few minutes later, Patricia stepped out. She wore the same navy blazer she always wore when she needed to say something serious, the one from the Christmas I gave her a business planner and Tyler gave her a homemade gaming highlight reel. She said she treasured both. She didn't sit at first, just stood there adjusting her sleeves. "Claire," she said, "not too soft, not too sharp." I didn't look up. She sat beside me anyway. "We didn't mean for you to find out like that." I nodded once. I wasn't going to fill in the silence for her. She let out a breath, not quite a sigh, just a release. "It's not that we don't care about you." Still I said nothing, because what do you call care that forgets your contributions when it's inconvenient? She reached over, resting her hand on mine. Her skin was warm, trembling slightly. "Tyler's had a harder time finding his way. You're capable, Claire. You always have been. Capable. Competent. Reliable. Words that feel kind until you realize they're cages. Labels that let people take from you without guilt." I pulled my hand back. "You could have told me," I said. My voice was low, even. "You could have asked." She looked away, down toward the parking lot. And that's when she said it, quietly, as if saying it softer made it lighter. "We had to co-sign for Tyler's cryptocurrency investments. He needed the backing." The words landed like a tap, not a blow, but I heard everything in the way she said them. They didn't just leave me out of the succession plan. They'd already tied themselves to him with real numbers, real debt, real risk. "How much?" I asked. No answer. "Patricia, how much?" Still nothing. Then, quietly, 42,000. I stood up. The wind had picked up. The factory's warning bell clanged once in the distance, then fell silent. I looked at her, not angry, just tired. "You didn't choose him because he needed it. You chose him because you already owed it to him." Her eyes widened, but I wasn't looking for a response. I just didn't know the price included erasing my contributions. I didn't text. I didn't call. I just stopped. That week I canceled the automatic payments I'd set up for the factory's supplier accounts. I deleted the calendar reminders to follow up with our major clients. I paused the consulting services that kept our production line running smoothly. Nothing dramatic, no big announcement. Just a quiet withdrawal. An empty space where I used to be. I thought they might notice right away, but a week passed. Nothing. By the second week, I started getting the first messages. Frank's text came first. Equipment maintenance bill came back unpaid. "Can you check the account?" I didn't answer. Then "Claire, the Johnson contract renewal is overdue. Tyler couldn't reach them." I left it unread. They weren't concerned, not yet. They just assumed I was busy or overwhelmed or dealing with my own work deadlines. Maybe they thought I needed a break. Maybe they thought I'd come back like always. The third week, the tone changed. "Claire," Patricia wrote, "the loan payment is due. Can you transfer what you usually cover?" She didn't say hello, didn't ask how I was. Just a demand, a number, an expectation. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Ask Tyler." It's his business now. I hit send, didn't wait. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. Another message, "Please don't be stubborn. We need to talk." But there was nothing left to talk about. They'd made their decision. I was just finally living like it mattered. That evening, Tyler chimed in, "Claire, don't make this complicated. Just help them like always." Like always. Like routine. Like reflex. Like I was never more than a reliable safety net. I wrote back, "You're the one they chose, Tyler. So be the choice." He didn't reply. The next morning I woke up to a transfer request from Patricia, $8,500. Exact amount of the overdue equipment loan and penalties. No message, no note. Just the number. I declined it. A minute later, the phone rang again. Then again. Then this, "We could lose the factory if you don't help us." And finally, from Frank, "You'd let your family business collapse?" I almost laughed. The business wasn't collapsing. They were just facing consequences for the first time. They were learning what I'd managed quietly without asking. I turned off my phone. They didn't lose me when they wrote me out of the succession plan. They lost me when they assumed I'd keep propping them up after that. A week of silence passed after I declined the transfer request. No calls, no texts. It was the quietest I'd known them to be in years, and somehow that felt louder than the desperate messages. I started sleeping better, waking without checking my phone, focusing on my own career for once. But silence never lasts in my family, not when there's blame to assign. The first sign was a voicemail from cousin Hannah. She rarely called me, always said she preferred to stay out of family drama. But that morning her message said, "I'm not picking sides, but Patricia seems really stressed. Maybe just reach out to them." That's when I knew they'd started talking to other people. I checked Facebook. It didn't take long to find it, a photo of the factory floor, a caption that read, "We built this business for our children, but sometimes sacrifice isn't appreciated." Dozens of likes, a few concerned comments, one from Tyler, "Some people think family is about profit. They forget it's about loyalty." I closed the app. Not angry, just empty. They weren't just hurt. They were rewriting the story, turning me from backbone into burden because I'd stopped holding everything together. The next afternoon, an envelope showed up at my apartment. Plain, no return address. Inside, a bank notice. Copy only, not addressed to me, but I recognized the business account number. I sat with it for a moment, stared at the paper, then flipped it over and wrote on the back, "Maybe you should have left it to someone who could actually run it." I didn't send it. Instead, I checked the business registry online. Mitchell Manufacturing was officially listed as financially distressed, behind on loan payments, no credit buffer left. They'd blown through the operating capital, probably trying to maintain appearances, maybe hoping I'd break before things got desperate. Tyler had burned it all. All the stability they'd handed him, all the foundation I'd built. Gone. There was a time I would have stepped in, called the creditors, negotiated payment plans, transferred emergency funds. But now I made myself dinner, sat at my kitchen table, and let the factory sink without me. Sometimes you don't need to start the fire. You just have to stop putting it out. It started small, a vague post from Patricia with a family photo, her and Frank standing by the factory entrance. We poured our hearts into building something for our children. Sometimes that's not enough. No names, no direct accusations, but I knew what it meant. So did anyone who knew us. A family friend commented, "You two are such dedicated parents. You deserve better." Frank followed a day later, a longer post, less subtle. "We gave everything to our children, opportunities, guidance, trust. We thought we raised them with values, but you can't control who abandons you when times get tough." He tagged me. No call, no message. Just a post for everyone to see. I didn't respond. I watched it grow, dozens of likes, family friends chiming in, some I hadn't seen since high school. One wrote, "This generation just doesn't understand commitment." And then there was Tyler. Of course there was Tyler. He shared Frank's post with a caption of his own, "Some people only care when they're getting something. I'd give anything to protect my family." I guess not everyone sees loyalty that way. I read it twice, then once more. The same man who hadn't contributed $1 in years, who drained every account they had left, who watched the business crumble, was painting himself as the devoted son. The comments were worse. "You're such a good son. Your stepsister should be ashamed. They gave her everything. She just wanted more." They didn't know the truth, but they didn't want it either. They wanted a story, and my family gave them one. I might have still said nothing, let the storm pass, but then I saw her name, Melissa, my colleague, the one who once told me you really hold that family together. She liked the post, left a heart emoji. No comment, just that. It hit harder than I expected. Maybe because I thought she understood better. Maybe because I thought she saw through their act. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something break. Not loud, not messy. Just a quiet, final snap. They weren't just rewriting the story. They were erasing me from it. They came on a Thursday. I should have expected it. The texts hadn't worked, the money requests had been ignored, the guilt had grown stale. So they showed up. The front desk called at 10:42 a.m. "Ms. Mitchell, your stepfather and mother are here, and a young man who says he's your stepbrother." I stood in the hallway outside my office, staring at the carpet while she kept talking. "They're asking to come up." Said it's urgent. I took a slow breath. "Please tell them I'm not available and that they're not expected." A pause. "They said they'll wait." I nodded, though no one could see it. "Then let them." 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Patricia, "We're downstairs. Come down now." Another, "We're not leaving until we talk to you." I didn't rush. I finished the meeting I was in, answered 2 emails, then walked downstairs. They were by the building entry, standing too close together like they'd coordinated it. Frank stood rigid like he was holding back a speech. Patricia clutched her purse with both hands, eyes darting around. Tyler looked like he'd rather be streaming. They all turned when I stepped through the door. No one spoke right away. I stayed where I was, arms crossed, composed. "Claire," Patricia said, her voice already strained. "We need to talk." I looked at her, then past her. The street was quiet. A delivery truck rumbled by in the distance. I didn't answer. Frank cleared his throat. "You'd really let us lose the business over this?" I let the words hang. "Then you really thought I wouldn't?" He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You left me out. You handed everything to Tyler. Now you're here asking for the same support I gave for years without question." No one responded. Patricia stepped forward, voice softer now. "We thought you'd understand. You've always been capable." I nodded. "You used that as an excuse to erase me." Tyler finally muttered something. I didn't catch it all, something about not asking for any of this. "But you took it," I said. He looked away. Frank's hands were on his hips now, impatient. "We brought you into this family, gave you opportunities. You owe us something." I almost laughed. "I paid that debt every month, every year. And you wrote me off anyway." Patricia's lip trembled. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I took one step closer. "Then why did you wait for me to disappear before realizing I was the one keeping it all running?" They said nothing. Tyler reached for the door. I held up a hand. "Don't. You're not coming up. You're not coming in. I won't be your solution this time. No yelling, no scene. Just finality." They stood there, 3 people who once called themselves my family. And I was done trying to be seen by people who only looked when they needed something. They didn't lose me when they changed the succession plan. They lost me when they believed I'd never walk away. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't need to. The silence I gave them was louder than anything they could shout back. They texted for a while. Patricia tried gentle words. Frank went colder, blaming, demanding. Tyler stayed mostly quiet, just one last message: "You think this makes you better? Abandoning us?" I didn't answer. A few days later, I took a drive. No destination, just movement. My route, without meaning to, curved past the industrial district where I grew up working. The old street looked the same: cracked asphalt, a rusted chain-link fence. But the factory, a business for sale sign by the gate, broken windows, empty parking lot. I stopped at the curb and looked at it. The office lights were off. The bench I'd installed was gone. So was the flag I'd bought them. I didn't get out. I didn't need to see inside to know what had collapsed. That business never sustained me. I sustained it. And now it was someone else's opportunity. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, then again. I didn't check it. I already knew whose names would be on the screen. I let it buzz, then stop, then buzz again. I pulled out the phone and looked. Missed call, Patricia. Missed call, Frank. And then, voicemail. I knew. I muted the phone, slipped it back into my purse. No message needed. I already knew what it would say. I drove home in the cold, clear air of a late autumn afternoon. Not angry, not vindicated. Just free. I was never their backup plan. They just liked pretending I'd never leave. If they once counted on your loyalty but forgot your value, just leave. Some of us never raised our voice, but we never disappeared.